When the global political situation escalates to the point of nuclear war, the world's richest people hide in an underground bunker where they must survive in confined spaces. The action of the series, based on New Year's resolutions, begins with a brief backstory of Max Varela, a young rich kid born to billionaires. From childhood he grew up as Baka Biksana, the daughter of another billionaire, and eventually fell in love with her. However, being a spoiled young man who knows no grief, one day Max, completely stoned, gets into an accident in which he dies. He is found guilty of manslaughter and sent to prison. There he systematically and regularly catches fish and even undergoes astronaut training in a washing machine. Having decided after this that he's tougher than Degaran, Max works out and participates in prison no holds barred fights. The first rule of the prison fight club is no arguing with Boyko. When the global political situation escalates, Max is suddenly released for good behavior upon leaving. He learns that this is thanks to his father Rafa, with whom he has a complicated relationship. Dad explains that they must urgently go to a secret underground bunker, where the rest of society's financial elite have already dug in like potatoes. In the spring, the shelter is located at a depth of 275 meters, can accommodate 45 families, and has an emergency supply of water chips to prevent them from having to leave prematurely. Waiting inside are mom and grandma, as well as the Falcon family, and the father and sister of the deceased Anna. Quote, Dad, no scene's okay. Quote, during the conversation, it turns out that Max fled the scene of the accident, leaving the girl to die. Believe me, I loved your sister more than life itself. You didn't love her if you left her like that. At their first dinner together, Minerva, the event's organizer, greets the guests, urging the rich not to pee in their jumpsuits prematurely. If the situation outside calms down, they'll be released promptly. The main thing is remember you're safe. Max gives Asia his sister's phone, which he took from the scene of the accident and kept in the prison, using the secret method of Bruce Willis's watch from Pulp Fiction. When she reviews the latest recordings, the bunker suddenly behaves like a radish. At the first serious alarm, it cracks. The rich in a concerted panic descend from the first tier down to the safety of the dome. There, they watch on monitors as the war rages on the surface, and nuclear mushrooms grow like mushrooms after rain to light in the gloomy atmosphere. Rafa confesses to Falcon that it was he who advised his son to flee the scene of the accident to feign trauma and memory loss. However, at the trial, he changed his mind and testified that Max got behind the wheel in his usual high school state, completely stoned. His father wanted to teach his son a lesson about being accountable for his actions. With contact with the surface lost, Minerva sends to volunteers outside to repair the antenna. The footage from their spacesuit cameras is broadcast to screens. The rich see a blaze of radioactive ash and a destroyed bridge outside, after which the technicians rush back before they're irradiated to the level of potatoes. Charred corpses are found here. However, this footage turns out to be a simple simulation designed to deceive the billionaires, for which Minerva congratulates the team. They bought it completely. The world outside is blooming and smelling, as if nothing had happened. Minerva reminisces about how she and her mentally unstable but talented brother orchestrated this scam. Long before she's assembled a team, she had planned a convincing performance in advance, including simulated shaking dust panic, cracks in the walls, and a falling elevator. A specially hired film director had built the set and filmed the scene of the foray into the radioactive zone, all to convince a bunch of rich people to sit still and not push. Asia, sitting on the toilet, watches Max's videos addressed to her sister on her phone. Hearing a noise, she finds a woman hanged in despair in the next stall. Using technology, they manage to film her and then perform CPR with the help of Julia, the staff doctor who arrived just in time. In the control center, Julia complains to Minerva that the situation has gotten out of control. No one expected Roskam answer. However, the director believes everything is going according to plan, so if you're scared, grit your teeth and work. The team is preparing a new scene with a man made up to look like a fatally irradiated man. The rich are sent back to their living quarters under the pretext that the seismic activity from the nuclear bombing has subsided. During this, Max's mother Frida quarrels with his father, and leaves to live with his mother. A disappointed Rafa tries to drown his sorrows in food, but the cafeteria refuses to serve him. At an inopportune hour when Rafa grabs food on his own, guard Yakko arrives. Max defends his father using his prison skills. Minerva calls back the guards, who have arrived to avoid creating unnecessary noise. But Max keeps the trophy stun gun. Continuing to stare at Max's stories, Asia realizes she is slowly falling in love with her dead sister's boyfriend. Her wet dreams are interrupted by a knock on the door. The guards ask Mimi Mako Asia to go to the medical unit. Several people with the right blood type for the irradiated patient have been gathered there. This is all part of a planned performance. They're allowed to spy on the patients, seemingly by accident, without being told what's going on. Asia watches stepmother and Max watches her. They try to figure out what's going on, but instead they end up arguing. When the donors are released from the medical bay, they spread rumors of radiation contamination, fueling the depressive mood. In a fit of negative emotion, Asia throws her sister's phone down the garbage chute. However, Julia doesn't like what's happening. She feels guilty for manipulating poor and fortunate billionaires. Minerva tries to calm her down, saying, "Why don't you like it?" But the doctor says he wants to leave the project and return to honest work in Escalvia. Watching me perform a fake operation on a guy in disguise, that's not what I became a doctor for. My nervous brother. Zero notices that the doctor is nervous and brings her a sedative. She refuses to take the pills, after which the young man pushes her off the bridge. Julia dies from her injuries at the scene. In the morning, the bunker workers find the body of the dead doctor. Zero explains that she fell down in despair, and a fit of desperation he saw it on CCTV cameras. One of the project participants wants to see the recording himself. He's too distrustful for a group of people who orchestrated a grandiose deception of the rich and able to come up with an excuse. Zero plays the recording. It shows a Huli climbing the bridge railing and jumping off. Memories of Nerve transport her back to the time when she was just convincing her team to join her and her brother. Filled with righteous anger over class inequality, they want to expropriate the wealthy, and to that end, they've come up with the idea of a bunker controlled by Roxanne, an artificial intelligence created by Zero. Roxanne open the door, and to prevent anyone in the outside world from looking for the missing, the organizers told them to record a message pretending to be going on an indefinite leave. Tired of the hustle and bustle, Nerve teams also monitor calls. Having access to the participants' phones, 24/7 video surveillance allows Roxanne to copy the voices and appearances of the bunker's inhabitants. The operating system even recreates the deceased Julia in minute detail. The organizers use these technologies to respond to Asfaldo, the company's manager. Gilherme Falcon quote Roxanne, "You must respond to Asfaldo." What could Gilherme tell him? Quote Minerva organizes a wake for the supposedly irradiated volunteer and the truly deceased Julia. After announcing that they have switched to permanent standby mode, the woman reminds them that food is now rationed. The senior and junior Varela, who started a brawl in the cafeteria, are reprimanded. The manager also orders Max to return the anchor he stole Asia out of girlish habit. Changes her mind and wants to return the phone she discarded. Under a plausible pretext, she asks a worker to take her to the end of the garbage chute, to which he nonchalantly agrees. While rummaging through the garbage, they notice the crumbling press turning on as always. At the perfect moment, a worker notices that the girl took her phone instead of a keepsake necklace, to which she confesses everything and talks about her uncertain feelings for Max. The worker is advised to either ignore him or accept that he killed her sister. When Max doesn't return the taser, Minerva sends a Yakko after him. The guys meet in the gym where a fight ensues. Necessary for drama, but completely absurd from a safety standpoint. They beat each other to the point of bloody snot until a colleague distracts the Echo. Then Max punches the kill switch. Asia finds him in this bloody state. Recalling her 4 years of medical school, Asia tries to reset Max's dislocated arm. As the Yakko is wheeled to the medical bay, he never regains consciousness. The staff believe he's dying from his injury. Minerva is forced to turn to Asia, the only person left with medical training and experience with a well-chosen injection. She manages to restore the guard's senses. Minerva summons Max to her office to accuse him of murder and then calm him down. Yakko was revived. She takes the taser from him, testing it on the troublemaker one last time. then orders another guard to take him to Asia to have his head stitched. During this process, Asia is overcome with lust and leaves. The man follows to find out what's going on. Asia says she hates him and immediately rushes to kiss him. But this last act is a fantasy. In reality, she leaves after these words. To entertain the bored billionaires and prevent them from thinking, the organizers invite those who speak foreign languages into a secret radio room, where they offer to try to contact other survivors. This is all part of a pre-planned program. The radios are disabled even when the distressed radio operators receive a response. The bunker staff speak to them from another room. Anything to keep the bunker's inhabitants in good spirits. We're out of fuel. Please let us sit down, complain over us. A psychological support group is also being organized in the shelter. Rafa at its meetings complains of sadness after his wife's departure. Guillermo suddenly supports him, calling him her last remaining friend. The others, he believes, perished in the conflagration of a nuclear war, and it would be a good thing if machines didn't rise from the ashes of nuclear fire. Buying his friends a place in the bunker, spending a meager portion of his own money, could have saved them. It also turns out that Rafa turned in his son at Guillermo's request. He wanted revenge on him for killing his daughter. Later, Guillermo convinces a staff member to open a bar for them and join the group along with Elena, the woman who tried to pretend to be a Christmas tree ornament in the restroom, all to cheer up her friend. He's convinced the only chance to win Frida back is to give her a taste of a male other females are attracted to. It's the spirit of competition at its finest. So to speak, Minerva reports that Osvaldo has been persistently calling Guilherme, threatening to fly out to see him personally. On vacation, they're starting to get a big deal, something they've been waiting for 20 years. To avoid triggering a search for the billionaire, she orders a video call with the businessman using a digital clone of Guilherme generated by Roxanne. Did you just fall on your head or something? Come quickly, quote. They use it to convince Osvaldo that the boss is more interested in establishing a personal relationship with his new wife than in dealing with work matters. They interrupt the conversation when the conversation turns to something called BJ3. Minerva worries that her carefully crafted plan could be ruined because they don't know what BJ3 is, while Roxanne analyzes the data. Minerva recalls how her mother abandoned her and her brother when they were children while bouncing around orphanages. They focused on their studies. When Minerva became an architect working on billion-dollar projects, her salary was mere peanuts. That's when the class hatred celebrated by Karl Marx flared up within her. Only he proposed hiding the rich less underground just to meters. Roxanne is given to understand that he's talking about BJ, ice breeding stallion and expensive thoroughbred, and beloved pet of the deceased, whom the business partner wants as a bonus. However, the asphalt deal requires the horse's passport, and it's not hidden in the mist, but in a safe account known only to Guilherme. Another phone call ends with an agreement to call tomorrow and open the box together. During this time, Minerva needs to find out who the cat is. She orders the mass Ingrid, who opened a bar for the rich man, to find him at all costs. Meanwhile, Max, in the gym where the fight took place, finds a dropped Jacko earpiece. Putting it on, he realizes the shelter staff are listening in on the residents. Turn it off, turn it off. Cindy, the girl sent by the security guard, immediately appears to retrieve the device. Max correlates her appearance with the security camera. They are all under Big Brother's watchful eye. Cindy takes him to the infirmary to treat his partially treated wound. Along the way, they meet Asia. She was checking on an injured security guard, who in a moment of clarity asked her out. The man steps out of the way, causing Asia to burst into tears of sadness. She asks the worker Tears to hug her for comfort. At the bar, Ingrid, using alcohol and feminine charm, begins to coax the billionaire into openness. The conversation is interrupted by Max's arrival. Having downed some rubbing alcohol in the hospital to disinfect his soul, he demands that the banquet continue. Guillermo doesn't like being next to his daughter's killer and leaves, obeying her boss's orders. Ingrid follows him to suggest they retire to a private office. Frida spots the couple and reports her husband's infidelity to Mimi, grabbing Grandma Victoria. The women's battalion goes to sort things out. Minerva turns off the power to stall them in the elevator and buy time while simultaneously urging Ingrid on. The mass challenges the billionaire to a game of truth or lies. She asks questions. He writes the truth on a piece of paper and then tells her any answers she wants, so she can guess whether he's lying or not. With the help of hints through headphones and a video camera, Ingrid learns the combination to the billionaire's safe in just a few questions. As he reaches for the promised kiss, Mimi bursts into the office for a boring argument involving faces and dishes. After a good whining, they part ways. Disappointed that everything fell through, Guillermo goes to the apartment, where she finds Asia with her sister's phone. Realizing that Max gave her the device, the man goes to confront him, hinting that his daughter and wife died because of him. The billionaire beats the man to keep him away from the last woman in his family. The fight is stopped by a blow to the head with a vase. Frida stops the man when her son leaves. She suddenly kisses Guillermo. It turns out they've been having an affair for 20 years. Periodically distracted by their legal spouses and other lovers. In the morning, Minerva's team calls Falco, who has arrived at the mansion on Asfalto. It turns out that the cat Guillermo named is one digit too small. Before Roxanne can dictate the password through the digital decoy, the man realizes it's his goddaughter Anna's birthday. The bunker scammers are celebrating their first major success, one of many planned. "I won't forget my goddaughter's birthday." Meanwhile, the billionaire himself is making out with Frida in a spa. Their relationship is as long-lasting as half the show. Santa Barbara, meanwhile, Mimi, grieving a breakup with her husband, is feeling very ill. She takes the elevator down to the safe dome, where she collapses there. Guards find her on camera and bring her to the infirmary, where Asia, who is having a fight with Max, is also called Max himself. Meanwhile, is asked by Roxanne if she's spying on him. Quote, "I don't have that feature right now, but I hear you, how can I help?" Quote. Receiving a negative answer, he quietly takes scissors from the bathroom to try to remove the bracelet under the covers. After failing in this difficult task, the guy visits Minerva in her office. He wants to discuss the security cameras and microphones in the bracelets, to which the bunker manager replies that her job is to ensure the safety of all residents, which means the most violent ones like him will have to endure some inconvenience. Asia examines Mimi using tests in Roxanne's database. She diagnoses her with a rare liver disease. The only chance for survival is dialysis, a blood purifying procedure. But there's no equipment for it in the dungeon. If alternative medication fails, her stepmother has no more than 3 days to live. Conscious Mimi asks Asia not to let her father see her. They quarrel. The daughter obediently asks her father not to enter the room. In her grief, he goes to the pub where Max is already drinking. Max, remembering Frida's request, apologizes for the fight and tells him that Mimi is dying. The man valiantly promises to think of something and then goes to Aziz to talk privately. The couple retire to a secluded place where they begin a conversation. They talk about their inexorable attraction to each other like kitchens and dumplings, but in reality it's a deception for the guards. Eavesdropping on their conversation with notes prepared, the young man asks his friend for help. He wants to go to a hospital a few kilometers from the bunker to retrieve a dialysis machine, but to do this, he needs to fool the entire security system, which is where he needs your help. They agree to meet later at his apartment to discuss the details. Meanwhile, Asfalda flies to Hong Kong to purchase Shell Company. On behalf of the generated IGL, Herma Minerva and her colleagues created it to use this scam to obtain funds for Falcon's company. Through a network of 93 companies that will ensure the influx of money from all over the world, Falcon himself is meeting with Frida at the same time. The woman says she's ready to take their relationship from secret to public, however. Well, Herma isn't ready. In his value system, friendship with Rafa ranks slightly higher than intimacy with a friend's wife. To avoid offending him, the lover refuses to give their affair a second glance. In retaliation, Frida says she can do without him and seduces him right in front of her ex-boyfriend. Meanwhile, Max asks his father to vacate the apartment for a meeting with Asia. As he leaves, the man confesses that he turned him in to protect him. Otherwise, Wilhelm threatened to hire guys from another neighborhood to inflict fatal injuries on him. Asia allows the ailing Mimi to leave her ward for Victoria's apartment, where the perky old woman, with the help of a personal nurse, pumps her full of morphine prescribed for cancer pain. Quote, "Well, I don't need a life where I can't afford lobster, no matter how much uric acid it contains." Quote. The girl herself visits Max. They curtain Roxanne's cell and attach speakers to her bracelets to drown out the conversation with music. Max lays out the plan to distract the guards, get out, run for the dialysis machine, and save everyone. To do this, he needs to knock out Roxanne. To do this, he plans to punch a hole in the wall and short-circuit the wiring. Later, armed with the necessary tools, the pair begin Operation Break the Bunker with improvised means. Max then removes the wiring from the hole and strips it to short-circuit. Asfalta calls the digital Guilherme from the office of a shell company, supposedly bought by an Italian. Guilherme is a Minerva employee who died from radiation exposure. At that moment, Roxanne is knocked out by a short circuit. The bunker loses power, and the businessman sees an unknown logo on the screen instead of his boss, making him wonder what's going on here. After testing the initial short circuit to see how long it takes for the system to reboot, the conspirators carefully seal the hole and begin the next phase of the operation. They go to Yako to fake a jealous fight. While Max argues with the guard, Asia steals a pair of headphones for communication. However, Yako confesses to the former prisoner that he never played Dota, but did take his mother to the theater. Max loses his cool. The girl barely manages to pull him away. The guy goes to his mother to sort things out regarding her marital status and the moral principles of weightless lightness. He learns that she has been having an affair with Guilherme for 28 years. This information unsettles Max. In this scenario, there's a chance he might actually be the brother of his dead girlfriend, Anya. Basically, the boy is floating like a bug on the waves, jeopardizing the entire operation. Asia manages to bring him back to his senses, but without kissing, with hints of potential incest. Max tells his father that his mother cheated on him. Meanwhile, Wilhelm learns that Victoria seduced a drug-addled Mimi and goes to a friend to complain about her mother-in-law. In response, he asks to speak with Frida, whom Wilhelm has known longer than him, so she can return to the family. However, the conversation in the restroom stall devolves into light BDSM with elements of humiliation. As Rafa watches from outside on the way out, he confesses to his friend that before his wife's death, he told her about his many mistresses. Minerva and her friends conduct a seduction operation on the asphalt, not allowing him to sleep off his flight. They, posing as his boss, send the businessman to a restaurant. There, a prepared ingredient awaits to attract the lonely man. A little charm and alcohol, and they head to a club where drugs, favorite music, and specially hired extras add to the excitement. A magical night in the company of an exotic beauty ends in a hotel room where the girl suddenly receives a call from her parents. In the bunker, Asia and Max call a plumber to fix a clock. When Thurs arrives, the conspirators tranquilize him. Dressed in an orange work jumpsuit, Asia infiltrates a household chemical warehouse and steals ingredients for a homemade bomb. This useful skill is taught to all billionaires' daughters in medical courses. Then they make an explosive device using a teapot. So to speak, our indignant minds boil. A hungover asphalt under pressure from the false Helmer goes to make a deal. The plan is quite successful, after which the businessman is escorted to a private jet. Minerva and her comrades celebrate the proletariat's first victory over the bourgeoisie when the power goes out in the bunker, followed by an explosion in the server room. After dusting the corridor with fire extinguishers to create a panic effect, Max and Asia make their way to the emergency stairwell. Hidden from prying eyes, the guy wearing an earpiece sneaks upstairs, while the girl returns to the room to patch the hole and eliminate the evidence. But she doesn't make it. Yako arrives at the apartment with a specially issued firearm. He sees the sleeping janitor and at gunpoint tries to take the girl away for questioning. But then Minerva appears and asks Asia to revive Mimi. The morphine and alcohol have completely killed her. The girl tries to revive her stepmother, but all efforts are ineffective. In Bangkok, Asphalt spots a poster with a familiar face from a plane. The actress was posing as the grandmother of his nightclub companion. Suspecting something is wrong, he Googles her, but the team of scammers has already cleaned everything: social media pages, the company website, and the fake nightclub. In a panic, he orders the pilot to make a 360 degrees turn, then another 180 degrees in return. Asphalt will reach the company office, where he transferred $900 million, but it's already empty. Only lonely cleaners are sweeping away traces of disappointment. The man calls his boss to report the situation, but during the conversation, he suspects he's being conned by some neural network hoax. He threatens to go to the police, as Minerva doesn't need this fuss. She orders the team to eliminate the target and to henchmen in the crowd carefully eliminate the now useless businessman, breaking his neck. The fugitive, donning a protective suit, takes the elevator to the exit. Near the steel door, Asia announces through an earpiece that Mimi is dead and there's no need to risk himself. Max admits he wants to go outside himself, get away from his hated relatives, and feel like a hero of Fallout. He opens the door, and a blindingly bright light hits him from the outside, and that's where the series ends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.